Okay, I want you to imagine something. You're trapped deep underground, you're underwater, and it's pitch black. Your only way out has just vanished, and you have exactly 5 minutes of air left in your tank. Now, this isn't some horror movie plot. This was the terrifying reality for two divers in a cave system called Sherlock Springs. So you've got these two divers, Bill and Parker. Their mission was pretty much done, and they were on their way back to the surface. But when they got to a tunnel they'd already been through, they found their path was just gone, completely sealed off by a sudden collapse of rock and mud. And to make a horrible situation even worse, that collapse kicked up this blinding cloud of silt. They were in what divers call a silt out. It's this incredibly terrifying state where you literally can't see your own hand in front of your face. Forget finding another way out. They couldn't see anything. And then, the final, horrifying gut punch. They checked their gauges. They had only 5 minutes of breathable air left. That's it. 5 minutes to figure out how to escape an underwater tomb. So yeah, let's dive into this incredible story of Bill and Parker. They were two friends whose love for adventure pushed them into a moment that would test the absolute limits of human courage. Now, to really wrap your head around the danger they were in, you've got to understand a little bit about cave diving. This isn't just a casual swim. It's considered one of the most hazardous sports on the entire planet. Here's the key difference, right? When you're scuba diving in the open ocean, if something goes wrong, your escape is always straight up. But in a cave, well, you've got tons of rock above you. The only way out is the exact same narrow, twisting path you took to get in. There's no such thing as a quick escape. And this chart really just says it all. I mean, look at those fatality rates. Cave diving is just in a totally different league. It's more than 3 times deadlier than base jumping, which is an activity most of us already think is pretty insane. Okay, so let's rewind the clock. It's the morning of November 17th, 1991. The mission for the dive team that day sounded straightforward enough: explore and map some new underwater passages. They were diving at a place called Sherlock Springs in Florida. Now, from the surface, it doesn't look like much, just a small pond, really. But underneath, it's a whole different world. A massive labyrinth of limestone tunnels, some so tight a single diver can barely squeeze through. It's stunningly beautiful. The water is crystal clear, but it is also incredibly treacherous. This wasn't some casual weekend dive. The whole mission was meticulously planned out, broken down into 4 distinct teams. You had a surface team monitoring everything, a decompression team placing extra oxygen tanks along the route, a safety team making sure the guideline was secure, and then, of course, the exploration team, Bill and Parker. And at first, the dive was absolutely perfect. They went in at 10 a.m., swam past the decomp team, and made their way through the cave system. You know, in those huge open chambers, they felt this amazing sense of freedom, almost like flying through another planet. Everything was going exactly according to plan. So they reached their goal, and they started heading back. But that clear, beautiful path they had just traveled, in just a matter of minutes, it had transformed into an absolute death trap. As they swam back into this key passage they call the Grand Canyon, they weren't met with that crystal clear water anymore. Instead, it was just a turbulent, blinding storm of mud. Visibility dropped to nothing, and this deep sense of dread just started to creep in. So they're gripping the guideline, right? It's their only lifeline, their only way back to the surface. They follow it forward into the darkness. And then, the moment of pure horror. The line doesn't lead them out. It leads them straight into a solid wall of collapsed rock and earth. The panic is starting to set in. Their air is ticking away. Bill makes a split-second decision. He scribbles a quick note on his dive slate to Parker. "Stay here. I'll check the line," just to be absolutely sure they hadn't made some horrible wrong turn. Bill quickly swam a short distance to check a line marker, and it confirmed the horrifying truth. This was, without a doubt, the only way out. But when he got back to where he left Parker, just a few minutes later, Parker was gone. I mean, can you even imagine that feeling of terror? Bill is now completely alone in the dark. His friend has just vanished into thin air, and his own air supply is about to run out. He's sweeping his flashlight through the murky water, shouting, but there's just nothing. No sign of Parker anywhere. With his oxygen alarm literally screaming in his ears, and with zero other options, Bill just starts clawing at the wall of debris with his bare hands. Now, the blockage was only about 2 meters long, but in his desperate state, it must have felt like digging through miles of solid rock. And somehow, miraculously, he breaks through.
Running on nothing but fumes, he races up to the first decompression stop, where that extra safety tank was waiting. He takes this huge, life-saving breath, and then his heart just sinks. He sees Parker's decompression tank, hanging there, completely untouched. His friend never made it out.
Parker's body was recovered the next day, and the official story for years was that this was all just a tragic accident, until a later investigation uncovered what really happened in those last few terrifying moments. So first, investigators figured out what caused the collapse in the first place. It's something called the bubble effect. Basically, as all the different teams of divers swam through the cave, the air bubbles they exhaled collected on the ceiling. And over time, all those little bubbles actually weakened the rock's structure until a big section just gave way. And this is where the story shifts from a tragedy to an act of unbelievable heroism. The investigation concluded that Parker hadn't panicked. He didn't get lost. In those few minutes that Bill was gone, Parker understood the situation perfectly. He didn't try to find another way out. He stayed right there and used his last breaths of air and the last moments of his life to start digging a path through the debris for his friend. He had to have known he wasn't going to make it out himself, but he knew Bill would be right behind him. So he made a choice. His final action was this unspoken message, a sacrifice that basically said, "I have cleared the way for you." When Bill started digging, the path had already been started for him, all thanks to Parker. Parker's story really leaves us with this powerful question, doesn't it? When you're faced with certain death, what does it truly mean to be a hero? For Parker, the answer was pretty simple. It meant giving every last thing you have to save a friend.